Good evening. It's Jules Wyman here from juleswyman.com. Don't worry, I wasn't crying. Just had something in my eye and hadn't realised that the camera would go live that quickly. Cheers and good evening. I treated myself to what I thought was quite a beautiful mug on the way home from work today. I couldn't resist the colours. One of my friends is very much into peacocks, but I just couldn't resist the colours on this one. It's absolutely gorgeous. So good evening. How are you this evening? I hope that you are safe, warm and well wherever you are in the world. And wherever you are in the world, do drop down and say hi, because it's always lovely to know who's here and be able to give you a shout out and say hello, as I say pretty much at the beginning of every single one of these. For me, this is like welcoming you into my home, and quite literally is this evening, because that's where I am this evening. But it's like welcoming you into my home. If I was hosting a party and new people were arriving, it's always great to be able to say hi and check in with those people. So I love you to be able to do that as well. And if you're the first person to do it, you always encourage other people to do that as well. So do drop down and say hi, because it's great to know that you're here. And if you're watching on the recording, please do the same. It's really lovely. For the next couple of days, I get to see how many people watch the videos and interact. And like last time, I had, I think it was for most of the following week. Hey there, Shelley. Thank you very much. I had a number of people dropping in and out throughout the week, just saying hi and checking in with some of the questions and asking some more questions. So please feel free to do the same this evening, and never ever wait for me to give you an invite to type away. If you want to say hi like Shelley has done, then please just drop down and say hi, whether it's live or on the recording. Obviously, if it's on the recording, I won't be able to wave, so this wave is just for you if you're watching on the recording. I did have somebody say to me the other week that they found themselves waving back and realised that I couldn't actually see them. That's absolutely fine. I do that kind of thing as well. I wave goodbye to the people on the television because I am that daft at times. So yeah, please don't wait. Hey Tiffany, good evening to you as well. Please don't wait for me to ask you to type something in or give thumbs up or hearts or whatever. Please feel free to do that. Interact. The whole point of this is that it is a conversation. It isn't just about it being a one-sided dialogue. I recognise that I'm the one who's got the space, got the camera, got the microphone at this moment in time, but it is about you interacting as well, so that you can get what you want. No pun intended for the title of this. But if you haven't joined us before, then welcome. It's great to have you here. And if you haven't seen this is part 3 of 2 other parts. I had to think that, of one of the confidence conversations, which I don't usually do it like that. Usually each video is standalone. But the reason it became 3 parts is because it became very obvious in the very first one that I did of this particular topic of how to get the life you want, that I realised there was just so much content in there that I couldn't skim over it and just give you the sort of like my thoughts on it. I wanted to make sure I gave you some substance to it as well. So I will recap in a moment what those other parts are. So don't worry, you can still join in the conversation by saying hi. My invitation is that when you're listening to this, when things, if they make sense or they resonate with you, or you get what I'm saying, then do give me some thumbs up, because if I was in a one-to-one situation with you or in a workshop with you, I'd be checking in. So it's always great to know, and feel free to practice at any point of letting me know that those thumbs are working, or the hearts, or whatever it is that you want to do. And also feel free to share and invite other people. As I went on, I think it was last episode, quite a bit, the reasons, there's some hearts and some thumbs coming in, thank you, that one of my main reasons for doing this is when I first started off in personal development, I didn't have any money. And so therefore, to get access to this kind of content, thank you for all the hearts and thumbs, that I didn't have that much money at all. So to have access to this kind of thing at that point, people were doing a lot of tele seminars. So I would, and especially there was a lot of American ones. So I'd be up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to stay awake, desperately listening to this tele seminar and scribbling down notes. And thankfully, the wonderful thing in the last 7 or so years has the social media has exploded, and it gives me the opportunity to reach out to you whilst sat in my lovely home and be able to talk to you wherever you are in the world. So that whole point of that is being able to share, and for you to be able to share this content with your friends, with your colleagues, people that you're like, so and so could really benefit from this, or this really makes sense and it's what I was talking about with Bob or whatever. Tag them in it, just in the same way. This works exactly the same way as any other Facebook medium. So hey Caroline, haven't seen you for a while, so I hope you're okay. But please do make sure that you interact like the lovely ladies are already showing. Interact, share this with people, and invite them along as well in whatever capacity is appropriate for you. So I think that's all of the housekeeping. As I've said, this is part 3, she says, dribbling. This is part 3 of the topic is around how to get the life you want, or how to get what you want, however you want to phrase it. And basically this came about because of a conversation that I overheard when one particular lady was saying that, you know, she woke up and realised that her life wasn't the way that she wanted it to be. And the woman she was with was like, yeah, I look at my life and think, well, it's not the way that I want it to be. And both of them kind of shrugged their shoulders and went, well, what can you do? And then changed the subject. And I wanted to run over and go, there's loads of things you can do. Come and have a chat with me. And I can, you know, we can look at what it is that you want to do and make a difference. And I didn't, because I've learned not to do that, because not everybody is open to this or wants this. And the other thing that I notice a lot, and this is more prevalent in women than it is men, but it doesn't mean to say that it's exclusively a female thing, is that when I ask clients, or if I'm just working with people in a group or whatever it may be, you know, what do you want? Very often the answer is, I don't know. So that was the first part of all of this, is to get very clear on what it is that you want for a start. And if you, hi Chris Noble, if you're if you're not sure on what it is that you want, this was the first thing that I invited you to look at, is write down what it is that you don't want and then look for the opposite. But if you do know what you want, then write that list out as well. But if you don't know what you want, then write the opposite, because that will at least give you the opportunity to start going, oh, okay, well, I want this. And very often when I'm talking with people and they'll say, oh, I don't know what I want. And I'll say, well, tell me what you don't want. You know, well, I don't want to be in debt, or I don't want to be overweight, or I don't want to be unfit, or I don't want to be unhealthy, or I don't want to be in this relationship, or I don't want to be single, whatever it is people know what they don't want. So therefore, this gives them the opportunity to start looking at what it is that they do want by looking at what could be the opposite of that. So that's your first thing to be really thinking about. The second thing is to start to ask for it, but ask the appropriate people. So it's those people who will be able to support you. They may not necessarily be able to provide what it is that you want, but people who will be able to support you in the process, and the kind of people who will be your cheerleaders, you know, have your back when you describe that, you know, what I really want is to sell my house and go and live in Papua New Guinea. Don't know why that came into my head, but, you know, there's somebody who'll go, okay, how can I support you? What can I need? You need to have people like that in your life, or it may be that you want a particular opportunity at work, but you've never actually shared that with your line manager, or you've never shared that with your boss, or whoever it may be. And so therefore, it really is about you stepping out and being appropriately professional and direct, and saying, this is what I want, what would I need to be able to do that. One of my clients just popped into my head then as I was thinking about that. And she she didn't want to dive down into the area that she was in at that moment in time. She wanted to get a breadth of knowledge, because she knew she wanted to, was going to be moving within the organisation, but to a different area. That was her ultimate thing. So she started to ask her colleagues, you know, this is what I want, how could you help me? And suddenly got offers of shadowing other people or spending time with other people so that they could learn. So asking those people, sharing those things with appropriate people can be a very resourceful thing as well. So that's the second thing. The third thing was to check in with yourself as to whether you believe that it's possible for you to have that thing, or for that thing to come into your world. Because very often, and this is one of the biggest challenges, is that the majority of people don't think it's possible. They may be able to come up with a list of wants, but they don't think it's possible for them. They might think it's possible for somebody else, but they don't think it's possible for them. And that is something that you would really need to look at and work on with regard to your beliefs and what's holding you back there. And there's lots of other things that we could do around that. And I can't remember exactly what it was that I went through when I was talking about that, so I'm not going to say anything extra there, other than for you to recognise for yourself, is part of the reason that you haven't got the life that you want because you don't believe it's possible. Very often people think that it's not possible for them to have the dream job or the ideal relationship or whatever it may be. So it's worth checking in there, and then if that is something, then go back and have a look on, I believe it was part 2, when I dived into that part a little bit more. The fourth thing, which is also in part 2, I believe, is that then you need to break things down to start looking at what action steps you can take in order to start heading towards that thing that you want. So that you're making it as accessible as possible. So again, thinking about a lady that I was working with today, she's got these really beautiful, big, long-term goals, and yet was getting herself very stuck because she was caught up with the how as to get to that big thing. And very often when we have these ideas of what the life that it is that we want, or how we want things to be, it seems so far off in the distance that we just don't know how to get there, or where to start, or what to do, and therefore our brain just goes into overwhelm and stress or overdrive and shuts down and goes, oh well, I'll sort it out tomorrow, and we can get ourselves caught in those kinds of realms. Let me know, by the way, if this is making sense, or if you recognise yourself in any of this. So when you break things down, and as I say with this particular lady today, she had this big dream. There's lots of hearts and thumbs coming in there, so it's obviously making sense. She had this big dream, but it was when we sat and we worked through it that then she became very clear, and there were some very, very simple, small steps that she could be taking right now, basically, in order to take direction. They're not going to immediately catapult her from this place here to that long-term goal, because there is going to be a bit of time between that. How long, I don't know, and neither does she. But there's all these small bits that she could be doing in the meantime to help her going in that direction. So they were the 4 things, and this is the final part, I think. And this is why I didn't include this in part 2, because I wanted to make sure that there's more thumbs coming in. So obviously this is making sense, but I wanted to make sure that you had those bits in place, and that we had the conversations that we did around those on the other videos. And as I said, if you haven't watched parts 1 and 2, that's fine. Listen to this part and then go back and watch parts 1 and 2. So they will have been 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago, whatever the dates were. Don't ask me to remember those. But basically they go into far more detail what I've just covered. So that gives you an opportunity then to be able to look at that further. I just realised how decentralised I am on camera. It's because I've got my phone in a different place. But anyway, so the third thing, the final part of this, the 5th thing, it's part 3, may sound counterintuitive or contradictory to what I've been saying, because I've said about, know what it is that you want, get clear on that, share that with people, bring them along, know that it's possible, or challenge, or look at the fact that you think it's not impossible, that it's not possible, then look at the action steps you could be taking. But the 5th thing for you to be aware of to get the life that you want is actually to practice the art of non-attachment. Now, what I mean by that, and I have to be very careful because I could quite easily end up having that bloody song going round in my head for days on end, but it is about let it go. It really is. Sorry if you've now got that song in your head, but it is very true of letting it go, not holding on, not gripping tightly. And I've spoken about this in a number of videos in different ways, but not gripping tightly to what you expect the outcome to be. Because when we do that, we end up closing ourselves down to possible outcomes, to other opportunities, to other possibilities. And when we hold on to something, I mean, quite literally, you can see that if I'm holding on to this pen because I don't want to let it go, and this is what I want, so I'm going to hold really tightly, it's not only causing tension in my hand, but I can feel that tension right the way up my arm and even into my neck and down my back a bit. So that it's going to cause tension that impacts on our bodies. And even if that tension is something we don't necessarily have immediate awareness of. So something I notice in meditation is whenever my mind wanders, is I notice that as my mind is wandering, that tension starts, whether it's the little frowny face or whether it's tension in my jaw, is I notice that there's tension there because I'm happen to be thinking and I'm thinking. So there's tension that's been created rather than being relaxed and in the moment. And they're all very lovely, true statements that are overused and kind of chuck away statements at this moment in time. But the practicing the art of non-attachment is key to you having the life that you want. When you work through this in detail, what you can end up doing is recognizing that you already have the life that you want. There's just other things you would like to maybe tweak or fine tune or add or whatever. But ultimately, this is about you not stressing over getting the life that you want. It's about you being relaxed and looking at what it is that you do have as well. It's still about taking those steps. It's still about knowing the direction that you want to go in. It's a little bit like if you imagine that you're traveling either in the car or on the train, for example, and if you're let's say if you're in the car, whether you're a passenger or the driver, and you know where you're started out from, you know that starting point of your home, but you want to get to another part in the country, let's say, and it's a good hour plus journey, and you're going from your home to there, and you may know the route, you may have done it before, or you may not know the route. So therefore it's an adventure. It might be unsettling. You might be nervous about it. I mean, you can plan your route. You can have a sat nav going, whatever it is. But what you can't plan for is the traffic that might be on the road or the sudden weather that might happen that changes the driving pattern, or the fact that one of you might feel a bit poorly or need the bathroom and want to pull over or get hungry or need a break or a bit tired. There's all these other factors basically that could happen whilst you're on that journey from where you are now to that chosen destination of the life that you want. Let me know if this is making sense, by the way, and please feel free, for those of you that have just been joining, please don't wait for me to invite you to say hello or share what's making sense for you, or if you've got any questions, then please do drop them down at any point. And the same for those of you that are watching on the recording. Please do ask questions or get clarity on things, or challenge, or share what makes sense, or share what you're taking away. Please don't feel that you've got to wait. This is my full-on permission. You can type away to your heart's content at any point. So I'm guessing that this is making sense by the thumbs that were whizzing past. There's at least a couple of people that it's making sense to. I can't see who's doing that, by the way. So cheers, and I'm glad it's making sense for you. So if we stick with the driving analogy, if you're going from that first point, your home, let's say, to that next point, we have no control. That's you. That's where you are now and the life that you want. but you have no control over how long that's going to take you or what's going to happen in the process. And, you know, you could have the most amazing journey. You could have a car crash on the way. That's happened to me before now, both metaphorically and literally. And if you'd have said to me even this year, you know, I had all these goals and things that I wanted to do this year, and I've been thrown a number of curveballs that have taken me off point with that. But who's to say that they're not still heading me in that direction, and it's helping me get clarity? And that's the thing, is when we have non-attachment to the goal, we don't beat ourselves up for whether we have got there or we haven't got there, or the time frame that we've put on ourselves, and we're not then chastising ourselves or making ourselves wrong for being in the situation that we're in, and the fact that we're not there yet, and it's like the kid at the back in the back of the car, oh, we're nearly there, yeah, we're nearly there, yeah. You know, I know, having been somebody who has been in the past extremely impatient, I'm still practicing the art of patience. It's not something that I'm a master of yet at all. But to me, it is about recognizing that when I've got that little voice, like that little kid in the back of my head going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? With regards goals, you know, have I achieved such and such yet? Or have I done such and such yet? Or why have I not got that? Then that's where that tension starts to creep in again. Or that's where the stress comes in, or the anxiety, or the overwhelm, or hey Paula, or the discomfort, or whatever it may be. That's what then starts to happen. So does this make sense? Let me know what your thoughts are, as I'm just going to recap what those 5 things I feel are, well, my belief, these 5 things are what can help you get the life that you want. So whilst I'm going through them and recapping, type away, share, like, comment, whatever. Let me know what your one takeaway is from from this evening. So the first thing is to remember that you need to get clear on what it is that you want. And some of you will already know that, and you'll be able to list it out, be very clear, and that's fantastic. And yet there'll be some of you where you're not clear, you don't really know what it is that you want. And that's fine. Sit and write a list of what it is that you don't want and look for the opposite. And I love doing this kind of stuff at this time of year, because it is, you know, I've just called my granddad this evening, who will be 101 at the end of next month, and having a chat with him on the phone. And he said to me, you know, so what have you asked Santa for this year? What do you want? And that is this common you know, conversation at this time of year, you know, especially when we're talking to young people. What do you want? What do you want? And we seem to forget that that's a possibility for us to ask for that as we get older, because we've been told things about, you know, I want doesn't always get, or don't be so greedy, or whatever it may be. So get clear on what it is that you want. Then ask or share that with somebody who you know can support you in that, somebody who is going to be your cheerleader, be your champion. And that could be a friend, family member, work colleague, your boss. Depends on what it is that you want, and what support you potentially are looking to them for. Then it's about you believing, whether you checking in with yourself, whether you believe it's possible for you to have that. I've done this so many times with people where they've gone, I don't know whether it's possible, but this is what I want. And it's like, okay, well, would you like to believe it's possible? Yeah, I would like to believe it's possible. So we've worked from that point, and it never fails to blow me away, the things that people can create for themselves, or the way that life happens when they start to believe in what is possible. So the fourth thing then is but as well as asking for that support, is about you also taking those action steps, but making them as small and as digestible as possible in order for you to be able to do them, so that it's like you can, even if you're moving an inch, you know, moving your foot an inch forward every day, you're still moving. You know, as long as you're doing that consistency, or have that consistency rather, that's going to help you keep moving, keep that going forward. And then the final part of all of that is for you to have a non-attachment to the outcome, which I can understand that can sound counterintuitive to the whole process. but it's something that is so important. It's, it's not about this is my goal and I have to get my goal, and if I don't get my goal then I'm wrong or I'm bad, or I've, whatever the dialogue is that actually doing that is going to create tension, and that's going to have an impact. It's going to make it harder for you to take and continually take those steps. And if it's something, if you've got a time frame on something, let it go, because if you who knows, something can happen far quicker. I've known friends that have talked about getting pregnant and they're like, yeah, my husband and I are going to start to try, and boom, they've dropped with pregnancy within a day, it seems. Whereas I've known other friends that it's taken so much longer. Neither of them are right or wrong, it's just different. So but I know that the ones who hanker after that, there's this tension around it. There's not a relaxed space to it. So, let me know what your thoughts are on what those 5 things are about, so that you can get the life that you want. Shelley says, yes, makes perfect sense. I was holding a tight grip on my training program at the gym. Since loosening my grip on this over the last month, it's opened up a new opportunity to allow me to achieve my goals at the gym. That's awesome, Shelley. Well done. That's really cool. So you've got a perfect example there of, by loosening your grip, hopefully not when you're holding some dumbbells or anything, but by loosening your grip on your what it is that you wanted with that training program. I love the way that you phrase it. It's opened you up to a new possibility to allow you to achieve your goals. That is fantastic. And I it's taken me a long time. And again, I still would say it's something that I'm practicing, because I think it does link in to patience. And I think that we as human beings have this, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to use this word, addiction to control, and to want things to be we're not necessarily all controlling of other people, but we want things to be a certain way. We can, especially if you're British, even more so if you're English. I hear it all the time in relation to the weather. But it shouldn't be like this. It's summer, or it's winter, or it's whatever, or when's this going to, we get so hooked up on how things should be rather than actually relaxing into how things are. Just because I want it to be different doesn't mean to say that it's going to make it any different. And the only person that's going to impact is me. The more that I stress over it, then I'm going to get tense, I'm going to get upset, I'm going to get frustrated, overwhelmed, worried, anxious, whatever the right word is at that moment in time. So the more you can relax, the more you can recognize things are as they are, and ask yourself, okay, so is there anything I could be doing that I'm not doing that's going to make this different or better, or help me take me in that step of that direction? And again, I'll use the lady that I was working with today, who had she knew what she wanted with the long-term goals, but they seemed so big and so far off, she didn't know how to access them. But by breaking them down and finding those small steps now, she said to me that it now seems that the goal has come closer, even though nothing's actually changed, because she hasn't yet done any of those other steps, but it seems far more accessible to her now because she's been able to do that. And she said, with each of those steps, I can just check in along the way. It's not about, holding on tightly. It is about letting go. So, look at that, look, nearly dead on time. That's got to be a first. So let me know what your takeaway is from this evening, what you're going to take away. I was trying to think of another word. Take away and potentially use something that's going to make a difference for you. And whilst you're typing that, I'm also going to invite you to start thinking about this. Thumbs coming in, so I'm assuming that makes sense, or it resonates with people. Do you have topics? Because there are only 2 confidence conversations left for the end of this year, because of the timing of Christmas Day and then New Year's Eve. I think it's New Year's Eve or New Year's Eve. I won't be around to do those 2, so there's only 2 more left of this year. So if you have got a particular topic around confidence, self-growth, self-evolution, whatever it may be, feeling how to feel great more often, how to deal with people that you're going to be spending time with over Christmas that you don't particularly like, or whatever it may be, then either email me, jules@juleswyman.com, or you can message me direct on this page and let's have one of those conversations. I don't need to name you. I can keep it very anonymous. But let me know what it is that you want us to have a conversation about so that we can have that conversation, because I believe it's something that is helpful and important for you. So, and that goes if you're on the recording as well, is making sure that you share and have your input. So, and if, even if it's not Christmas related, but you've got a topic that you want to share, I was just going to use a very colloquial term of hit me up with it, email it in or message me in with it so that I can put that in the schedule and we can get round to it as soon as possible. Please remember, I'm waffling at the moment, so that if in case there's anybody still typing, but if you found the content of this helpful, then I'm pretty sure that you know somebody else that would also find this helpful. So please do share these videos with them. That's what they're there for, as a resource to help people. So make sure that you share it with them. Give them the opportunity, either by tagging them in the video below, inviting them to like the page, or sharing it on your own page, whichever is the most appropriate way with you. And if you are watching this and you haven't yet liked the video, liked this page even, please do like the page, so that you can make sure that you get notifications of when it goes live next time. I think I've waffled enough for anybody that was typing. I am assuming that there isn't anybody that's typing anything else now. But if I do finish and you're like, oh no, I wanted to ask this or share that, then either go onto the recording, which will just take a few minutes when it pops up, or if not, just message me direct. It'd be fantastic to hear what your takeaway from this evening has been. So from a bit of a bunged up Jules, I can hear myself getting more and more bunged up as the evening's going on. Thank you for joining me for this evening. I really do. My intention is that this information has made a difference for you in some way, shape or form, even if it is just getting you to think about what it is that you want, or even being aware of what you already have. I don't know. But whatever it is, then please do take the time to utilize these tools, because it doesn't matter how much or how valuable these tools are. They're worthless unless they're used ultimately. So Chris says, I like the car vision. It's nice to know where you want to aim for. However, what I've learned that the points on the route along the way are worth taking note of, as they all have relevance to where you end up. Yeah, absolutely, Chris, definitely. And you've certainly been on a journey or two in the last few years. So thank you all very much for joining me this evening. Thank you, Shelley and Chris, for what you've shared. Take this information, share this information, and make a difference to your life so that you really can have the life that you want. And I look forward to catching up with you soon. Take care. Bye now.